I hit it so much worse, like 5 times worse than the 5 iron. I'm like, that makes no sense. Like if you think you can change your swing somehow on Tuesday, like there's no way it's going to perform Thursday or Friday with any pressure. Like I don't really care where the golf ball is going. Like when I was in high school, I might just bring my own lunch or have something really quick and go putt at the club. Yeah. Like the one thing that's like people don't realize is like pros don't hit it as close as you think. Like when Rory hits a 4 iron or Brooks Koepka hits a 4 iron, it's unreal. Or Tiger, it's just like it's landing like a feather and it's a 4 iron. So like that's why sometimes like playing golf and like inside the ropes is the easy part. It's the best part.
All right, excited to sit down with Dylan Wu, talk a bit about his journey, how he got to the PGA Tour, and then how he's continued to level up on the pro golf tours and circuits, kind of continually improving his skills year over year. I think it'll be a really fun conversation. Dylan, thanks for hanging out with us.
Perfect. No, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, take us back. I want to figure out, like, how did you develop your skill? Like, what's your first memory of the golf course?
Yeah, so I'm the oldest of four, but luckily I kind of have pictures of myself when I was on the putting green when I was like 1 or 2 years old. I'm lucky enough that my dad kind of, I don't say started me young, but I kind of just I've been always around the game. So I mean, ever since I'm 27 now, and technically probably had a golf club in my hand probably the last 25 and a half years. And our dad was always better than us. And when we were, at least when I recall being a kid. Um, but my memories at the club, like especially in the summertime when there wasn't any school, my parents are dentists and pretty busy, so they just drop us off at the course. There's like one country club where I grew up in Southern Oregon. Um, it's a small, not as, it's kind of a small town, but it's like 70, 80,000 people. But there's like one course there, and they would just drop us off, and we would spend the entire day there. I was literally just in Oregon the last 2 days, seeing my parents and playing golf with a couple of people at the club I grew up at, and talking to like the head pro who's been there for 25 years now. Like he just recalls like, yeah, the Woos just like are everywhere. Like there's three of them. They're there at 8 a.m. and they're there till the end of the day, just playing as many holes as possible. So that's the one cool thing is when I spend time with the family, like golf's definitely a big part of that. When we all get together, it's a lot of golf. And like I played golf at Northwestern. My twin brothers, they both played college golf. One played at Air Force, the other one played at Valpo. And I have a younger sister who's 4.5 years younger than me, and she just graduated and she played golf at Lipscomb University. So all four of us played D1 golf, which is really cool, and it definitely stems from my dad. Kind of putting a club in my hands probably the first year or two when I was born, and yeah, I take credit for leading the way, leading the way for all of us golfing.
When did you know that you were good?
Yeah, I think when I was basically like 12 or 13 is when I really kind of realized I was good. I knew I was good in golf in Oregon. I was kind of the best player in Oregon for my age, and then I started like when I was 12 or 13 is when I kind of was getting better, and then I started playing some national tournaments in the AJGA on the West Coast, and then like when you're playing in Oregon, like you play so much golf in California, and California has like 50 times more players than Oregon, so like it was definitely like I think pretty intimidating the first time playing in some tournaments on the West Coast and in California, but I soon realized that my game was pretty good, and yeah, I just kind of kept on getting better. I think the one thing for me is I just loved golf so much that I just wanted to get better. Like I never necessarily had the dream of playing on the PGA Tour. I probably did, honestly, but I just like try to really just work hard no matter what. And just love spending time at the golf course all the time. And like my parents knew, like my brothers and I also played ice hockey, and we played it at a very high level starting at the age of 5. But I always wanted to be at the golf course no matter if it was raining. Like I'd be there till dark all the time, just wanting to get better. And then, yeah, like 12 to 13 is when I started playing in more of the national tournaments, and then playing well in those, and then just kind of slowly going up from there.
So what do you credit for your like being one of the best at that young age, 11 or 12? Was it your technique, the way that you practiced? Was it just that you had spent more time than other people learning? Is there anything now that you think about as like, that is why I got so good by 11?
I just loved being out there. I just loved learning about the game, just learning about like the swing, learning how to hit different shots. I think my dad, like, I don't say we read a lot of like mental books about golf, but I think he always like just told me like there like some like it's like the Ben Hogan quote, like there's never a shot you're not prepared for. So I think as a kid I just wanted to hit as many shots as possible and just really just be out there. I really think it's not like swang it that much better or had a perfect swing when I was a junior golfer compared to other players, but I think I just spent so much time golfing. Like I told people, like even when I was in middle school, I'm like as soon as I'm done with school, I'm going straight to the golf course. Like when I was in high school, like that hour lunch, I might just bring my own lunch or have something really quick and go putt at the club that's like 10 minutes from our high school and spend 30, 40 minutes putting. So just like I just wanted to be at the golf course all the time. And I think that's the one thing I really realized that I look back at now that was key to my success is just I honestly myself I wanted to be out there. Like there's definitely stories of like people in that age from like 11 to 13 like they're really good, they're prodigies, perfect swings and stuff like that and their parents are like forcing them to do stuff, but like my parents are like the farthest away from that possible. I play in the Wyndham Cup when I'm 15. It's like the East versus West. It's like the top 10 boys in the West versus the top 10 boys from the East, and that's the girls too. So it's 20 against 20. And I'm playing with, at the time, like now I'm playing with like Sam Burns, Scotty Scheffler. Um, Trying to think of the other tour players. There's like a handful of other tour players, but I'm like, holy crap, these guys are very, very good. Like these are the kids that were really good at also at a young age that you hear their names and then you get thrown into that. And sometimes it's, you just have such high expectations because you want to do well. And I honestly didn't do very well in some of those big events. And I mean, I definitely learned a lot from that. I mean, I feel like I learned more than if I actually ended up performing well, just because you learn more from your mistakes. Um, but yeah, it was that was the toughest part when I was maybe like 15 or 16, when I was really good, but like I wanted to get even better, like where I was like ranked maybe in the top 15 to 20 in the country, but when you play with those guys who are like the top 3 or 4, you're like, holy crap, these guys are really, really good. And then you get so focused on trying to beat them or like watching them versus actually just focusing on your own game and letting your own game speak.
So give us those key mindset shifts that you wish you knew. So if you were to make a list, would you like hand to young Dylan at 15 or 16?
Yeah, I would be. I mean, I think the number one thing would be the first thing would definitely like be be more mentally strong and don't live or die by every shot. Just have a better attitude, honestly. Like I was getting pretty mad at times. Like I'd be like muttering to myself. I still do that nowadays, but when I was a junior golfer, I'd just be pissed off. Like I wouldn't be like throwing clubs or anything like that, but I'd be pissed off at myself and yelling at myself, and then like maybe having a negative attitude, and then like if college coaches are watching that, like they don't want that at all. So I think I should just, if I could tell myself a few things, would just be like, it's gonna be okay, and you're just gonna learn. Like every bad shot or every good shot is a learning experience. So like, you don't have to live or die by every shot. That's like kind of the biggest thing. I mean, I think there's definitely a couple things like skill wise, like if I knew about the golf swing, but I don't think. I think if I talked like how I know the golf swing to like 15-year-old Dylan, he'd be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Like I just like swing, a little bit. Uh, but I think that just comes with learning. I probably would have told myself to um, practice a little smarter versus just being out there and hitting golf balls or like putting just to putt, having a purpose over every shot. I think those are the big differences in say junior golf to professional golf or like where I am now is just like every time I practice now it's usually with a purpose. Like there's a reason I'm practicing. Like it's on one thing versus I'm just hitting balls to hit balls to make myself feel better. It's like no, I'm working on this swing to hit this shot in a tournament and to work on this section of my game that I think needs to improve when I go into the next handful of events. So I think that just comes with maturity, though. I think that just comes with growing up and learning. Like, there's not many 15-year-old kids that or 14-year-old kids that would know all this stuff. If they do, it's crazy, and hopefully they don't overthink too much, because sometimes when are given all this information, like, you can start thinking about it too much and getting way too technical and overdoing it. Sometimes you just need to learn on your own.
I want to get to what you're working on right now, but what do you remember about going from college and then jumping through the tours? Like, what are the key things that helped you keep making jumps? Did anything change in the way that you practiced or
Yeah, so
skill
I think
wise or like, yeah.
I visited Chicago and Northwestern in the middle of January. It's snowing. I'm like, what am I doing here? But my coach there, Pat Goss, who's still my instructor now on everything, um, was the best. He was the best coach I talked to in college recruiting. It was my best visit by far. The one thing that really stuck him out from everybody else was that on my visit, he'd base his success as a coach on how I developed as a player, and that really spoke to me, because not many college coaches have like experience in professional golf like Pat. Luke Donald went to Northwestern. Pat coached him to #1 in the world. Pat's like a world-renowned short game coach. When I was in college, like, he'd be giving lessons to like Gary Woodland, Webb Simpson, Luke, and like all like the best players in the world. Like, would pick Pat's ear on short game, and I'm like, if he can take Luke to #1 in the world, he can definitely make me a better player. And I told myself I could go to any school and get a great degree and whatever, and live a good life outside of golf. But if I really want to get to the next level and play on the PGA Tour and play professional golf, I want to be with a coach that can help me get there. So that was a big reason. That's just a huge part of my success. Like, I could have went to another school and maybe I thought I could be a a PGA Tour player, but who knows? Like, I feel like I learned so much at Northwestern and got so much better in college that through Pat and through his instruction, that it was kind of invaluable to me.
Yeah, so the keys, like, what are the keys that Pat taught you at Northwestern that helped you elevate your game?
Yeah. So like the first thing I think is like learning how to chip and learning how to putt properly. I think when as a kid, you grow up putting the ball in the back of your stance and like pressing forward with your hands and then hitting it low and chipping that way. I mean, I think chipping, that's what was taught to us, at least when we were kids, and nowadays is like the first time people are saying in the last couple of years, like, you have to use the bounce. Like, it's been talked about way more now than it was, say, 10, 12 years ago. So learning how to chip was like a huge thing, like learning how to open the face in the backswing and use the bounce properly, hitting shots with spin versus hitting everything bump and run, and learning how to like just have touch. And I think that was just a huge part of the success I had in college, or just made me such a better golfer, like learning how to chip and putt. And when I was 17 versus like 22 when I graduated, or even 17 and like 18 when I got my first year at Northwestern, I was just like mind blown, like, wow, this is like so different. And I think another thing with Pat is I loved how honest he was as a coach. He's been there for almost 30 years now. But my teammates and I joke all the time. Like, there's a few quotes that Pat has when he's teaching us, watching us play, or even in tournaments. Like, when he's teaching us and you're like working on, say, a swing thought or a short game shot or a putting stroke, where he's giving you instruction, he's like, better, not right. It's like, it was better, but it's not right. So like, you're getting closer, but it's still not good enough. But like, and then another one is like, if you hit a bad shot and you're like, sorry coach, that was a bad shot, or sorry, I was being stupid. He's like, don't be sorry, just do better. I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So he was just super honest and very transparent, which sometimes isn't the best for some people, because some people, I wouldn't say some people want to be like coddled, but that's kind of what it is. I think honesty is the best, and it's, if you can really be honest with yourself, that you're only gonna learn and be better. So I think Pat being honest was so helpful, just because then you're just so focused on just getting better on whatever it is, like your swing, short game putting, or anything. As long as you're just like not feeling nobody's going to feel sorry for you. It's like, what's the point of feeling? That's basically what he said. It's like, why do you feel sorry for yourself? Just do better next time. And then I think the bigger thing too is Northwestern golf. Like, I think it really taught me how to practice with a purpose and like just be a better golfer by making practice as much like a tournament as possible. Like setting up drills every day, like course management drills, like doing putting drills for completion, like putting things that put pressure that you have to complete, or else you have to restart. Like I think Northwestern golf is very good at developing golfers, and it might not show immediately in the collegiate success, but definitely has shown in the success post college and professional, like with Luke Donald, me, David Lipsky. I mean, we take Matt Fitzpatrick because he was there for half a year, but he won the U.S. Open. So like Northwestern golf just definitely, Northwestern and Pat just really helped me become a better golfer and learn how to practice and learn how to be honest with myself. And just not only then did the instruction and my knowledge of the golf game got so much better, but I just learned how to practice smarter and more efficient in a way that is going to help me play my best golf. I think I also learned at Northwestern, like, what is my golf DNA? Like, how is Dylan Wu going to play his best golf? Like, Dylan Wu is going to be different than any other golfer, but how am I going to attack this golf course today? How am I going to shoot the best scores? Like, I got to play to my strengths and stuff like that. Like, of course, you're working on your weaknesses, but you also have to know your strengths and then play that way. So all those things were just so huge to my success in college and then honestly afterwards.
So you mentioned like practicing with a purpose as being really important a couple times now. Tell us, like, this week, what does your practice look like, and like what are you working on right now, and how are you structuring that?
Yeah, so this is off season. So off season's a little different. So basically, I kind of like go through all my stats the entire year, like what was good, what was bad. So a lot of stuff was a lot of improvement from my rookie year. Second year was a lot better, but I'm like kind of going through like what I need to improve. And I just saw Pat this past Monday. He came to Arizona, and like right now I have a little break. We have until the Sony, where like the beginning is just a lot of technical work. Like we're doing a lot of backswing stuff, and like just like the swing was getting not necessarily in a perfect spot at the end of the season. Just you're playing all year round. You develop some, I won't say bad habits, but like it's really hard to make changes in the middle of the season. Like there's especially like tournament week, there's no chance. Like if you think you can change your swing somehow on Tuesday, like there's no way it's going to perform Thursday or Friday with any pressure. Like it might, you just got to bleed things into it. But like right now, like my practice, it's pretty block practice, like where I'm like really trying to slow it down and like do like drills to put myself in positions that I don't really care where the golf ball is going. Like really right now, I just want to make sure I'm doing the swing or like whatever I'm working on right. Like right now, like in my backswing at the end of the season, the club was getting a little too deep and like, I won't say across the line, but like just deep and behind me and across the line. So like right now I'm trying to feel like the club folds more in front of me and halfway through the takeaway and then gets the club. For me, it feels like a little more up and laid off. So like when I first hit it, I'm like, God, I'm pointing the club like way this way. I'm like, I'm gonna hit slices, whatever. But that you just gotta embrace the process of just making changes, because like I think with the golf game in general, like when you think you swing so differently on this one move, like the club might have moved like this much in a better position. So you just right now it's all about trying to kind of embrace the change and spend time working on it. But say like coming back, I'll do that for a little bit, but then closer to say like 2 weeks before I go to Sony, like I'm doing drills and more practice with a purpose where I'm like trying to get myself ready for a tournament. So like the things I'll do during that is like I'll work simple stuff. Is like I always check on my distance control with my irons, like how far everything's going. I'll do drills with my TrackMan, like making sure I'm hitting distances from 50 yards all the way to 240 yards. The TrackMan has a great strokes gain drill you can do. So like your target in the distance constantly changes. Like you're still aiming at the far flag, but that flag could be, instead of in the center of the green every single time, it could be a back right pin location, front left, all these different things, different distances. So it's like you're kind of creating tournament like conditions in practice, and then you just get so focused on completing the drill that you're like you just get in the zone of doing that versus just hitting balls just to hit balls. But like for now, I'm really trying to hit balls, just trying to work on this motion to see if I can help help basically help my golf ball curve a little more left to right and not draw as much, and kind of just get my ball striking a little, my iron play a little better. And then getting closer to Sony, like some of the putting drills I do, like I'm spending maybe only 10, 15 minutes just checking to see if I'm hitting my start lines. Like I use putting plates. Putting plates, there's a lot of guys on tour use it. It's basically like this, it's like basically, it's like this square, like metal plate that you put on the ground just to hit your start line to make sure you are starting the putt on line. Like I'll spend like 10, 15 minutes on that. It's like a chalk line or anything like that, making sure I'm hitting my start line. And then other than that, I'll just be doing a bunch of drills. Like I'll do speed drills where like one speed drill I love to do every single time I get to a tournament on a Tuesday or Wednesday when you're constantly going on new greens is you put a box that's 3 feet by 3 feet, and you go, it's usually like pretty flat or maybe just slightly on a hill, and then you go on one side that's uphill and then one side that's downhill. You start at 15 feet on one side and then 15 feet on this other side, but you're not just only trying to hit 3 golf balls in that box for speed. You're trying to go like front, middle, back, or back, middle, front. So like if I hit that first putt and it's going already halfway through the box, and that's my front, then I have that much room behind it to get it in. And so it's like you're just trying to like barely get the ball in front or past, in front or below the ball before. And then that's a great speed drill versus just like trying to hit it in a 3 foot box. You just get so consumed of just trying to hit that ball just past the other that it makes your practice just so much more narrowed focus.
Was that technical change of data? Was there you mentioned iron play? Was your approach game? Was there something there that were like, hey, we need to address this?
Yeah, so like basically all my stats this year improved all across the board from my rookie year. Like I think I finished in approach play like 50th strokes gain on tour and then top 40 in putting. Like I've always been a player that I feel like I've been pretty decent in every category, but like my iron play and my putting has kind of grown into a strength. So my ball strength at the end of the year just kind of got a little inconsistent for me a little bit. Like I'm a very smart player and always like numbers. Like if I have a 5 iron or 4 iron in the hand, I'm just trying to hit it at 30 feet and 2 putt. Like I'm not going to be aggressive with a 5 iron, 4 iron just because until I feel like my skill level where I can hit the shot on demand and really control my dispersion really well later on. But I know like my strength is like my short irons, my just flighting the golf ball in the wind, like wedging it, putting and stuff like that. So like, I just want, for me, as I think, to get better as a professional golfer, and to get at a higher level on the PGA Tour where I get into contention, I think I need to hit, as my stats show, I think I need to hit the ball a little better with my long irons. It's always been a struggle for me. Okay. Like for some reason, I always joke with my coach, I'm like, when I'm hitting it really good, I'm like 6 iron and 5 iron flush. As soon as I hit a 4 iron, like for some reason the 4 iron is just like a little longer, a little smaller. I hit it so much worse, like 5 times worse than the 5 iron. I'm like, that makes no sense. It goes like 8 yards farther, and I'm hitting it way worse. But yeah, I'm just trying to find like little improvements to get better because there's a lot of positives right now. But yeah, I'm talking with my coach and with my stats guy to just trying to find like ways to get better, like what was good this year, what do we need to maintain, and what things can we improve on. So like right now, it's mostly the swing. I think honestly, from 150 yards or 175 yards and in, I think I'm good enough from 175 yards and in with the ball striking and the short game and the putting, where I feel like I'm a top 50 in the world, top 50 player in the world. I can be, if it was just only that. So like improving the long irons from like 175 to 225, and then just driving the ball a little better, is something I can improve this offseason a little bit, or make changes in my swing to help me accomplish those goals.
Love that. A quick test for you. How tight is your dispersion pattern with some of your lower irons? Do you know like from like top to bottom and then width? Do you know how tight your dispersion is?
I just know my proximity this year on tour was pretty good. I don't know, like people think it's like really low, but like honestly, if you hit it say from 125 yards to 150, like I want to say my average is probably like, I want to say it's lower, but like it's probably realistically like 23 or 24 feet, and that's probably actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that's like people don't realize is like pros don't hit it as close as you think. When pins are tucked and like conditions aren't super easy, like dome conditions all the time, when it's windy and tough and it's like you're in the rough, whatever, or greens are firm, whatever. There's just so many different variables, but like hitting it to 20 to 24 feet, like most of the time you're never going to three putt. You're always giving yourself a chance. So um, I've always been just, I'm a very smart player and I try to be very objective in my like target line every single time I play. I would say I won't say I don't take risks, but I'm just very, very smart. I'm a very smart player that's not just going to fire at pins just to fire at them. Like if I'm feeling good, I'll fire at pins, but like if I feel really good with my game, I might aim only like 5 feet closer, 2 or 3 yards closer to the pin. Like I'm never really just aiming directly at the pin and firing it, just because even though you're hitting it really good, there's still dispersion either way. Um, but yeah, I'd say like I'd probably be top, yeah, 50. Got to be top 50 on tour from 125 to 150. I think that's like my bread and butter is like a pitching wedge 9 iron and even an 8 iron. Like that distance, I think I'm really, really good. But I definitely want to get better at hitting the 5 iron, 5 iron, 4 iron, and then hitting that higher shot that like you see the best players in the world that also hit the ball really far too. Um, that's just a shot that like looks pretty. I mean, there's definitely you definitely want to be more functional, but it's definitely so cool when you can actually hit that shot in competition or like just hit the shot on the range. Like there's no better feeling than seeing yourself hit like a 4 iron just like high and perfect or like high cut or high draw. I'm like that just looks perfect. Versus when you flight it, it looks cool when it's windy, but like it just doesn't look as good. Like if you see the shot tracers on tour with people hitting like high towering 2 irons or 4 irons, it's just like it looks so good. Like when Rory hits a 4 iron or Brooks Koepka hits a 4 iron, it's unreal. Or Tiger, it's just like it's landing like a feather and it's a 4 iron. I'm like, yeah, I can do that with a 7, 8 iron, 6 iron, but I'm like, those guys are doing it from like 225 yards away.
Yeah. I mean, what are your key habits and routines for you kind of on your day to day? Obviously, you're working on technique right now in the off season. We got some of that going on. You're doing some practice as well, but there's probably a lot of other time in the day. So what are
Yeah.
the other routines and habits which are really important for your kind of
Like
day
right
to day,
now,
week to week?
yeah. For some reason, like one of the things I wanted to work on this off season is like uh, some like corrective stuff for some of the deficiencies I have. So like talk with my trainer. We do like body scan, like tests. Like I did a really good job of taking care of my body the whole year. Never was injured. Um, the tour has great access to PTs and chiros every single week, and it's like the one thing I'm trying to really work on now is like my overhead mobility. Like for some reason with my right shoulder here, like it's really hard for me to get anything overhead here, and that's probably why I shallow the club quite a bit because I when I get the club get to the top, it's really hard for me to like hold it like there. You know, like Hideki pauses a lot. I'm like, there's no chance. I mean, I try to pause, and it's like when I feel like I pause, sometimes it's just a good swing. You know, so like that's some of the corrective stuff, like doing more exercises where I do that. Like I went to talk to my trainer, and like I want to gain a couple miles per hour of speed. I think every player wants to hit the ball a little farther, and instead of like I feel like I don't necessarily need to gain more muscle mass or like lift heavy or like do more like workout stuff. I feel like to do more corrective stuff, like small muscle stuff, and like make sure all parts of my body are working well. And the biggest thing for me is like that I haven't really tackled honestly that much. One of my sponsors is MyFitnessPal, and they've been great to me. And like nutrition and fitness has been so huge to professional athletes. Like making sure I eat well and I won't say eat clean, but eat well and making sure I'm kind of properly nutrition. I mean, just eating the right stuff in the off season um, to work out and gain some muscle, but also just take care of my body. It's nice to have an off season just because in the middle of the season and you're traveling all the time, like your body's just constantly on the go. So like when you're able to like take care of your body, rest a little more, and kind of like just have some time off, it's really nice. And I think just all the small stuff. Like there's just so much more. Sometimes the golf's the easier part. Like me going to practice on the range and like working on the golf, like that's the more fun part. But it's like all the other small things that normal people just don't think about that go into the kind of the life of a professional golfer. It's like making sure you eat well, making sure you're just making sure your body's moving well. You don't want to, like, the biggest thing for golf is like it's not like other sports where you have like a set, like you have a peak age. Like golf, you can play. I hope to play on the PGA Tour for like another 20 years. Like versus other sports, you have this short window. The more you can kind of ingrate that in a daily routine, not necessarily daily, but like more often than not, is just going to be so helpful. Because then it'll be easier to do that when I'm on the road in that tournament. So like a big thing is like, yeah, tracking what I eat. Like, I mean, it's off season, it's holidays, it's off season. Of course, I won't like enjoy myself, but like making sure I'm eating enough protein in the morning. That's why like with MyFitnessPal, it's been great. They've been a great sponsor to me, and all my sponsors have been great. But like nutrition and fitness are just so important to any professional athlete. Like golfers, I think the last couple of years, people are realizing that golfers are just as, like, the better golfers now are actually good athletes. Like that wasn't the case maybe like 10, 15 years ago, but like ever since Tiger came, like every golfer, even in golf, like golfers are doing what other sports are doing.
We've hit on golf, swing, practice, body, what you're eating. We haven't talked about your routine around like your mind or your brain. Is that
Yeah.
something that you do as well, working with like a
Yeah,
sports psych or like things like that?
yeah, very important too. Like honestly, like Northwestern, again with Northwestern, I got introduced to a sports psychologist with Pat. He worked with all of us on the team. His name's Fran Pirozzolo, and I still work with Fran today. Like a lot of the stuff, like without Northwestern golf and without Pat, like I honestly think I wouldn't be a professional golfer or be anywhere close to where I am today. I mean, I like to believe I was good enough, but like you just can't. Sometimes you just have to thank people that were there and made a huge, like, we're just a huge part of your success. But like, yeah, mental game is just so important. Like golf's a brutal sport mentally. I mean, you watch, I mean, any person that plays golf is like, this golf sucks. Golf is so hard. It's like they're making these changes, trying to make golf harder. It's like, no, golf is really hard. But mentally, no, mental stuff is just so important. It sounds cliche, like all the stuff like that Steph Curry talks about, or like that Tiger or any big golfer talks about, like controlling what you can control, staying in the moments, like focusing on the process, like all that stuff that people talk about is like, it's easy to say because it's getting told so much more and more lately, and it's become just mental strength and taking care of yourself mentally is so much more important in professional sports nowadays. But it's actually just very true. Like it's really easy to say, but it's really hard to do. Like when I hit a ball, hits a tree and goes out of bounds, like be able to move on and like be able to step up and hit the next shot, and like kind of calm my mind from like wanting to go in different directions. Like sometimes people think that golfers are like immune to like bad thinking. It's like, no, I go up on a tee box, I'm like, oh, there's like OB like way over there, like there's OB way over there, there's water over there, like, but then of course the correct thinking is like, oh, I'm gonna hit this golf shot I'm gonna hit this shot right here at this target this way. So you're just like changing your focus. Like I think it's one good thing for mentally is to like acknowledge what's out there and the bad. Like, yeah, acknowledge you might be nervous or you have thoughts or like, oh, I don't want to hit this out of bounds, or there's water over there, but it's like you acknowledge that, like, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hit the shot like this at this target and that. So like deep down, you're not like just like faking it in your head, like, oh, I'm just trying to hit this, just trying to hit the fairway here, and it's like then deep down you're like, but there's OB left and there's water right, like, but if you acknowledge it and you're like, okay, there's OB left and water right, but I'm gonna hit my driver, I'm gonna tee it low, hit this low cut starting here and here, and you're just so focused on hitting that shot, then when you hit it, you're like, oh, you don't even notice the OB. That's why when you play a golf course for the first time and you hit a shot and you're like, oh, I didn't know that was up there, and I'm like, that's honestly sometimes like the mental game is just so important. But yeah, my sports psychologist is very important to the team. I mean, there's so much that goes into professional golf that it takes a team. It's not only like your family and your supporters, but my coach, my trainer, my sports psych, and it's like my caddy. I have my younger brother caddy for me. So one of the twin brothers, he caddies for me. So like I have that dynamic too I have to deal with. Like when you're the big brother and when you're brothers, you just want to, like, sometimes when you're mad, you just want to yell at your brother just because he's your brother. But so there's just so many different things, but like the mental side is just so important. Just like if you can just be nice to yourself, sometimes I feel like you can achieve your goals if you're just mentally tougher. Like sometimes you just need to find small things that kind of give you a competitive edge. And like for me, I honestly thought like the last 4 or 5 years, like when I was in college, that what I'm going to do better is I'm going to have a better mental attitude and like mental grit than a lot of other players. But it's just so hard too. Like it's really hard to be nice to yourself mentally, just because like golf's not a game of perfect. Like it's all, if you hit like two or three shots exactly how you want to in the round, that like that's awesome. Like most of the time, it's like you're managing your misses and you're not executing it perfectly. And then like with golf, like only one person wins out of a 156 player field. Like it's a lot of losing. There's a lot of, like finishing the top 20, top 10 and making the cut is a great thing, but like there's still so much more. Like you're not winning. It's not like every other sport where you can rely on somebody else. It's all on yourself. So that's why like the highs in golf are great, but then the lows are tough. But like the lows are always worth it. I mean the highs are always worth it because like some of the lows like really suck. Like I've had times mentally I'm like, why am I playing this game? Like everybody has those thoughts like why am I doing this? Like this sucks. Like this is no fun. Like this is not what I signed up for. But then like all the hard work, and then when you finally see it come to fruition in a good tournament where you actually execute and you finish well, there's no better feeling. Like the best feeling ever is playing inside the ropes and hitting shots and doing what you love. And the one thing for me is I love golf, and I'm learning how to I'm learning how to be a good professional golfer where I try to do every single part well. It's like I feel like you kind of need all those parts. Like if I'm not eating well, if I'm not training well, if I'm not practicing well, if I'm not mentally taking care of myself, like if one of those things kind of falls out of place, that's another reason why you could not play well. It's like it's not just because I hit a bad shot. It could be like maybe the night before I didn't get good enough sleep because I was doing something. I don't know. There's so many different things. So yeah, that just goes all into it. So there's definitely a lot that goes into it, but luckily I feel like I'm doing a good job of trying to take care of every category, and hopefully I can just get better at it every single day or every year I play, and that can only help me. So that's the plan.
Well, it sounds like you got a good plan leading into the season. It'll be fun to see those towering 4 irons come January.
No, I would love that. Right? If you see one or two, that sounds great. One or two a week would be unreal.
Awesome. Thanks, Dylan.
No, of course. No, anytime.